In this stage of the game, you're going to find yourself in many situations with turkeys. In many ways, every turkey you set up on is different. In many ways, they're the same. It's kind of a catch-22. You always want to start out soft. You can always put more on it. But if you start out with everything you've got, it's pretty hard to back off and get a response. You're going to face turkeys on the roost. You're going to face them on the ground in a lot of different situations. Let's talk about a turkey on the roost. How we call to a turkey on a roost. For the most part, I don't like to call the turkeys on the roost, simply because oftentimes they'll stay up on that roost and they'll gobble at you waiting for that hen to come to them. Remember what I mentioned earlier. Most of the time, hens go to gobblers. We're reversing nature. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that he comes to us. We want to also keep that little bit of element of surprise for him. So he's kind of searching and looking all the time. However, I want to make sure he knows where I'm at. And if he has hens with him, I definitely want to get a little bit of vocalness to my calling so that I can make sure that those hens may come to me when they fly down. I'm competing with them now. First thing I'm going to do is do a little bit of tree calling. I just want to let this turkey know where I'm at. Tree call is a very light, soft yelp. It's just monotone and kind of under the breath, and it's just like hen waking up on the limb. You notice I'll break that up a lot. I'll do some single note stuff. I'm trying to make that sound as real as possible. I want to convince that turkey that I'm the sexiest hen in the woods and I'm right over here and that he wants to fly down and come to me first. After the gobbler gets on the ground, all I'm going to do is call a little bit louder to him to take his temperature. I want to see where he stands. If my soft yelping and clucks are convincing and he's coming, there's no reason for me to call any louder. If it's not and I need to do something, I'm going to do some more aggressive calling, possibly do some cutting and yelping, and juice him up a little bit, try to create some excitement. I'll give you both scenarios here, but making sure that you take his temperature and don't overcall to the turkey is very critical. Only give him what he needs. Make sure he's coming to look for you, not hold him up and make him stand there and strut and gobble, and you go to him. If that calling right there is working, he's gobbling, he's coming to me, and I know he's coming, I'm not going to give him any more. If he's holding his ground, possibly some hens are with him, and they're vocal, I'm going to pick it up and try to juice the gobbler up, maybe excite the hens, bring the whole flock to me, whichever scenario I'm dealing with. You notice I vary the tone a lot and the intensity in the calling. This is putting inflection in your calling. When you put that inflection and realism into your calling, you're going to find yourself creating a much better scenario, and more often than not, you're going to call that turkey in. That's what they want to hear. They know what's real and what's not real. Those turkeys that are 3, 4, 5 years old, they've been around, they've heard it all and seen it all. Learn to create that excitement, that inflection in your calling, proper rhythm, and you'll be putting more turkeys in the back of your truck, I'll promise you. The best laid scenario of a morning hunt may go astray. You have the bird roosted the night before, you sneak in and get 70 yards, and you call to him on the roost, he's gobbling, he flies down, you do everything perfect, and yet he walks off with the hen. You're going to find that happen many, many times in your turkey hunting career. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's pretty hard to pull a gobbler away from the real thing when she's going one direction and you're not going anywhere. Once you find that happening and gets up in the day, oftentimes you will see that you need to get up and make some moves through your area trying to locate possibly another gobbler or strike that gobbler that was with that hen earlier. And there's a lot of different ways to locate. We think about crow calling and owl hooting and maybe pileated woodpecker or hawk, but using a mouth call for locating is very good as well. I like to cut and yelp, create that excitement. Just like using a locator call, however, you want to make it short and sweet so that you can actually hear if the bird answers you. I like to go, say, every couple hundred yards and call, depending on what the terrain's like. If it's very open and hilly and ridgy where your sound is carrying a long way, going a couple hundred yards every time you stop to locate is great. If it's thick, say swampy terrain with a lot of timber and sound doesn't travel very far, probably a good idea to go about 100 yards and call each 100-yard segment. Again, all I want to do is I want to cut loud and yelp loud and just see if I can get a turkey to gobble, but I want to keep my sequences short. Most of the time, that's going to be enough to make that turkey shock gobble. Yeah, he's gobbling at the call, but he's also gobbling because it's high and sharp and loud. Now, remember, when you use a call to strike a turkey with, look around for your setup situation before you call to him, because oftentimes that turkey may be 50, 60 yards away, 100 yards away, just over the lip of a ridge or just out of sight of a bend of a road. And when he answers you, he may be on his way in short order. So you want to make sure you've got yourself in a position you can sit down and get your gun up and be ready immediately. One thing people don't think about is practicing light calling when turkeys get up close. You're going to catch yourself in scenarios where turkeys are 60, 70, 80 yards away, just out of gun range or just out of a place where you can get a shot. And you're going to want to drag them into that opening, or you're going to drag them that last 25 or 30 yards so that you can get a good ethical shot at them. Being very comfortable with close-in calling and being able to call almost under your breath and very low and keeping it very real is highly important. You want to be able to cluck and purr, and you want to be able to do some yelping as well. But you want to keep that very, very real and very, very low and almost ventriloquist-like and throwing your sound one way or the other, oftentimes dragging that turkey. You can call out the sides of your mouth. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. But keeping and learning how to control your airflow and keeping that volume down is very important. Being able to put that little nuances in there, putting that all together, and convincing that gobbler that he's looking past you and thinking that the hen is beyond you is very key. I can't tell you how many times I've taken a turkey at 65 or 70 yards that was just out of good gun range and made him break with that soft calling and bring him all the way to 25 or 30 yards because he's convinced that hen is there, but he just can't see her, and he just wants to come that last little bit so he can actually put a visual on her. Practice all these little small nuances in your calling, you'll be more successful.